You're listening to the Jamie Meloni Real Estate Show with local expert Jamie Meloni. Now, here's Jamie.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Jamie Meloni Real Estate Show here on 1250 Wins WHNZ. If you're finding me on the air for the first time, I invite you to tune in every Mondays at noon as this show aims to become your information source for the Tampa Bay real estate market. I want to go ahead and bring on the second guest here for the show, actually my third guest since I had a call in at the beginning of the show, Steve Kodad. He is a former multi-million-dollar realtor with over 20 years of experience. Steve Kodad owned a 30-plus agent real estate company up in Charlotte, North Carolina. He started using Feng Shui to sell his homes about 12 years ago and was so impressed that he sold his real estate company and got certified as a Feng Shui consultant and left real estate and started the Feng Shui Cure. His company evaluates homes in Southwest Florida and trains individuals and organizations on how to use Feng Shui. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Steve, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background in real estate.
Well, believe it or not, I started in New Jersey. I was a part-time real estate agent for a year or two while I was teaching and coaching there. And then when I moved to Charlotte, I had continued teaching and coaching at that point, and then got into real estate. So in 1990, I became a licensed realtor in North and South Carolina.
Now, you say teaching and coaching. What did you teach and coach?
I taught mathematics.
Okay.
Hopefully that doesn't turn everybody off in here. And I was a varsity basketball coach.
Okay, interesting. So many of us, have an idea of what Feng Shui is. I myself have a general idea, but I really don't understand what this is. So elaborate on what Feng Shui is as well as a brief history of it.
Sure. Feng Shui stands for wind and water, the two words. Feng is wind, Shui is water. And those are the two most prevalent ways of moving energy around our planet. And Feng Shui, in a simplistic definition, is the art of placement. But Feng Shui is an awful lot more than moving your couch or where the bed goes. And that's what intrigued me about it. But it got started in South China, depending on what book you read, maybe 4,000 years ago. And I think of it as an environmental science. I don't think of it as a philosophy. I think of it as an environmental science that happened to work and has been continued to be worked on and improved over the years. There are many, many schools of Feng Shui, and that is sort of confusing to a lot of individuals, but they all pretty much follow a lot of the same techniques.
So how did you first decide to promote Feng Shui in one of your listings? What happened?
Well, the first listing that I was involved with Feng Shui actually was vacant, thank goodness, probably. Mm-hmm. And I brought some items from my house, much to my wife's displeasure. And so I actually set up the home this way. The home had been given to me because it had failed with a couple of other agents. And that weekend I did an open house and sold it.
So what are some of the things you do inside the home to enhance its appeal with Feng Shui?
Okay. Well, Feng Shui has an awful lot to do with the five senses, and so you're actually using things like particular aromas, but you're trying to get a particular feel in that house. And so to get a particular feel, you do move things, certainly, but you try to improve the flow, you try to take care of clutter, and you try to take care of certain situations that possibly don't seem to get to a conscious matter. It's more of a subconscious thing, because 95% of what happens around us, even right now, never gets to our conscious. And if it did, probably our heads would blow up. But that 5% that gets there, is, of course, very important for trying to sell a house. So Feng Shui actually gets you to the point where some of the things that are more important gets into your consciousness.
Okay, so how does this work? You have, I guess, a consultation, and you go to the home with either the seller or the real estate agent. Take us through what a home consultation entails.
Right, I'm hired by real estate agents, but I'm also hired by, of course, the homeowners. And the first thing that I do is that I sit down with them and I try to understand exactly what they're trying to achieve at this point. And everybody has different ideas of what they really want. If they want to sell their house, that, of course, is one idea. But we sit down, I get an idea of what's going on, and then I take 2.5 to 4 hours, depending on the size of the house, to walk around and try to take notes and take photographs at this point, because a lot of things I might forget myself at this point. So it takes me a while. I then do a summary at this point before I leave with the homeowner, giving them some ideas of how to get started. I then go back and I take about 48 hours to write up a report, and I email the report to him, and then there's continuing discussion at that point.
So is this sort of like staging where you have to bring in certain items, or can you a lot of times just use a person's own decor to establish Feng Shui?
Well, that's the neat thing about Feng Shui. You do not have to bring in a lot of expensive stuff. In some cases, you take out a heck of a lot more than you actually bring in. So it's very inexpensive, and the whole idea, maybe probably the most difficult thing for a homeowner might be to paint a room or two. Mm-hmm. And so color is a big aspect of the whole thing. You're trying to balance what's called the 5 elements right up front, and that creates a more harmonious feel for us as human beings. So sometimes it's just changing out certain things, but usually they have most of the items available. I usually don't have to bring in too much. I do kiddingly tell my students that I probably at one time owned more red pillows than anybody else in the world, but that was about it. Mm-hmm. I didn't have an awful lot of inventory, which is, of course, a very nice thing. So changing out particular accessories and maybe painting a room or two was sometimes all I really needed to do.
Now, what were some of the techniques that worked best? Is painting the room some of the most simple techniques that you used in Feng Shui?
Right. I mean, I have worked with builders and who had specs that were having trouble homes that were having trouble moving them, and so all I would do is try to get away from having it maybe being all beige or whatever, and trying to break it up in where certain colors were showing. I always work on the master bedroom, for example. The master bedroom is very, very pivotal in Feng Shui, as is the kitchen. And so often I'd start off by asking, is it okay if we go ahead and paint a couple of rooms to create a difference? And landscaping is a very big part of too. Yeah, the curb appeal is very, very pivotal, not only when somebody pulls up, but it's also, as you know, as a real estate agent, it's pivotal on the internet nowadays. Mm-hmm. Because people are, 90% of the time, they're finding their own homes just by going through home after home after home. And you need to catch them. You need to catch them within those first 2-3 seconds so that they'll explore that home more. So color is a big aspect of it. And so
it's interesting that you say, because with the banks, when we repaint the homes, they always just paint them to one neutral color throughout. Right. So you're using a specific color pattern specific to that home, then not just a neutral color throughout, then you're saying?
That's correct. One of the theories in Feng Shui is something called yin-yang. And there are certain colors that are more yin, and there's certain colors that are more yang. The colors that are more yin, the adjectives for yin are more inward, sleepy, quiet, cold, and all of those things you want to represent in particular aspects of the house so that it registers with the person when they walk in. So if your bedrooms are coming off as yang, it's very conceivable that those bedrooms will not register the way they should. And so anyway, some of the colors to answer your question would be like sage greens and particular blues, and so there's a particular part of the color wheel that you would consider more yin, and the other part would be more yang, and you have to be careful where you use your colors.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've written 3 books on this topic as well, correct?
I'm working on my third
Working
book.
on the third.
Yeah.
What are the first 2 that you have on the market right now?
Well, the first book was published in 2006. It's called Feng Shui for the Real Estate Agent and the Homeowner Too. And the second one is Sell Your Home Within the First 4 Months using Feng Shui.
And is this something that you see a lot of demand with your services? I mean, are you getting good response from the marketplace for consultations for this?
When I first moved down here, I had to start all over again. I was doing extremely well up in the Carolinas and through into Virginia, into Georgia and stuff. So I've had to start my business all over again. And I just got started about a year ago, and it has picked up considerably, yes.
Very interesting. And I mean, you talk a lot about the 8 moments that are most impressionable when selling a home using Feng Shui. I guess these are in your book, correct?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on,
Sure.
Give me one of them here real quick. We're hitting up against the break, but give me something of value
Sure.
there.
Well, the first one is curb appeal. So we've already mentioned that, but that's a very, very pivotal one. Second one seems to be somewhat trivial to people, but it's the walk from the car up to the front door. It has to be passed in creating an awful lot of enthusiasm and excitement for the person. The next one is at the front door. Very, very pivotal in Feng Shui. The front door is the primary place for energy or what is called chi to get into the house. The first time inside the house is the foyer. You're taking a look around for the first time. Then the next one is the room of first impression, which is usually to the right because most people are right-handed. And then the next one is flow through the house, the general flow. And then there's the two most important rooms, which is the master bedroom and the kitchen. In Feng Shui, those are extremely pivotal.
Yeah, but the kitchen is obviously the big selling point. It's interesting that you say about, people going to the right. I mean, it's one of the things I always, whenever I'm going to an amusement park, I always go to the left because it seems like everybody always goes to the right. And I can always remember that tip about going to an amusement park.
Where can we buy your books?
Well, they are located certainly on Amazon at this point, and Barnes & Noble has them also.
They have, here in Tampa.
Some great information. Got to head into a soft break here. But Steve, real quick, how can people get some more information on the Feng Shui for real estate?
Well, my website is www.thefengshuicure.com. That's just go on there. You're going to find my email address on there and my one and only cell phone number.
Very good. And if you didn't catch that information, I'll have him up on the TampaBayRadio.com website here after the show. Steve, thank you very much. A lot of great information. I'm sure you've got a lot more. We just don't have the time to cover it all. Okay. It's a big topic.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right. If you're just tuning in, you've been listening to the Jamie Meloni Real Estate Show here on 1250 Wins, WHNZ. Coming back from the break, we're going to be talking with Kyle Matthews, founder of Because of Ezra. So please stay tuned. A lot of great information here about this organization.